Illegal.
The speed limit's 35.
Okay, 90.9 is illegal.
Okay, now we're recording.
Now we're recording.
Okay, now,
Waiting for Mr. Keys.
I want to play some ground rules for today. Speak, hold the mic up to the end of your table, speak into the mic when you want to talk, because there were a lot of complaints last week that people could not hear you when you commented on anything. Okay, so lean forward, speak into the mic, directly into the mic. Otherwise, it's not picking it up well.
That includes Mr. Keys.
And that includes Mr. Keys.
What is that?
I said everyone has to pull the mic up toward him and speak into the mic so he can be heard. And silence your phones. Okay, do that.
Lawrence is gonna come down and join us.
Right? Hi, Lawrence.
Morning, Laura.
Okay, good.
And this is the host.
I may have to break down and buy a watch.
Hey, Lynn, can I entrust you with host duties to admit people and keep them muted and stuff like that?
app, but there's the button, right?
Yeah. You have never used it on an
No, not
iPad?
that, no.
That's the participants. You
You don't have
admit
an
them.
admit all button?
Oh, there might be.
Okay, I'll work on it.
Might be at the top somewhere.
10:02.
And under more is the chat. Get some chat messages there.
All right.
And I think that's about all you need to do. And you can see people if they raise their hand.
There's a mid all now.
Okay, right.
I'm gonna bring everybody into the meeting. It's 10:02.
And Dan, the way it's kind of decided is we'll go through it on paper at our desk instead of using the overhead because that's all on the computer. Then we have to share a screen with the audience. We don't really have a way to share the presentation with the audience.
Not without Dan sharing the screen on the laptop.
Are we on that? Maybe reduce the salary by $100.
It's in a full related today, town meeting.
I think it's in the wall, Dan. There was one thing in the wall when I came in.
I'm gonna have to get my solution key.
No wonder I don't have it.
Hey, Dan. Dan. I got your favorite sweatshirt on.
Yeah?
I told Ken, he and I are gonna have to get our, I'm gonna have to get my solution shirt out, so.
They make their, they make their,
Yeah,
Are the two of you sharing the microphone?
yeah, we don't have to do
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we've got 7 people around 6 months. I get it.
it. Your mask feels so astounding.
Yeah. Okay. Well, remember, to leave your mic when you want to talk.
In order for me to show this, I'm gonna have to get on the hall. I need to know
The password is island one access lowercase.
Are there any outside participants on?
There are 11 participants, including our devices here.
And, are we live?
Yes, it's being recorded.
Okay, well then, let me call the workshop to order. It's, 10 o'clock on January 13th. This is a workshop to, discuss the, needs for, our internet, telephone, computer hardware and software, needs for the city. No decisions will be made in this workshop. Any proposals or action to be taken as a result of the workshop will be addressed by resolution at a meeting of the town council. So with that, I'm going to ask people's patience while I get my PC up to speed here so that I can display the documents, but in the meantime, I'm going to turn it over to Linda.
Okay. I'm gonna give you this little information. Okay, Dan already went through the purpose of the workshop, and so we are going to be looking at a document that Dan is gonna try to display on his screen. If we, and so it will be on the shared screen, hopefully shortly for the Zoom audience. And, we're gonna look at all the IT requirements today that the new town will have here in our town hall office. And, so we're gonna go through that as one at a time that I have in the sheet. We can cover some of this stuff while it's setting out, and it won't matter. The first item is the internet. We have to have internet connection. And I think we decided early on that we wanted all of our equipment and resources to be separate from HICID, so that there's no confusion, we get separate bills and what have you. I personally think that Cox is the most reliable internet provider we have in this area, and so my recommendation is to go with Cox.
I use access, which I don't know, I can't remember if it, of course, other than when the lights are off.
Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, it takes years of outage, but you have that many service.
It's been there 99% of the time and it's fast, right? Because I think I have a higher speed that you're talking about.
Actually, I do too, and I'm a little worried about the speeds that we got quoted. And
I think I would look at.
actually 50 is what I'm thinking we need.
What's the best?
Online access, 2 words, broadcast, and the rest of the thing.
Initially, we probably would buy it.
We might, but then we're doing Zoom meetings.
Well, also, if we get an email server and it's there, you know, we start using, we get all of us using the same. At some point in time, it's time to get it.
And the thing that bothers me about this estimate that we have from Cox, we quoted a 25 megabyte gateway for down here, $100 a month, $93.39 a month. And then I go online and I see they're offering 50 megabit internet for $55 for business.
You probably didn't commercial as opposed to.
That could be.
So this is 55 for business internet.
I'm certain that's a promotional price.
It might be.
Yeah,
But it's available now.
right, right.
But I think we need to check into it at least.
Yeah, I
I
would.
think if they can call me back though, so.
Um, I think I would look at, 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 I
Was that price with the bundling in phones or any other?
Actually, it was 93.99 with two phones on the same
Yeah, and
bid.
some kind of other use are there, but I don't know what it is.
Those, the phone lines and the phones, basically.
Well, there's some kind of controller there.
Well, it's a Citrix seat, but that's the real IP line.
That's a card that they put into the gateway. I have Cox phone on mine at home,
Okay.
so it's just an attachment they put inside the box.
Okay.
So handle phones.
The only thing I've heard about hot home, and I know our church uses it, and I know the pharmacy uses it, because I tried to call the pharmacy all last week all day, and it wouldn't work. And I talked to the kid up there, he said, they have that problem when it's raining or something. I said, but if you experience, you're using hot. No problems.
With the voice over IP, no, I can't go into a lot of detail, but the implementation of voice over IP was a struggle.
Yeah, I understand from Bill Newton that it was in theory, it was because we tried to get AT&T to do the initial install and they totally found it up. So.
I don't know the details of it, except that it was problematic.
Yeah. Anyway.
On my device at home, you just turn on the router and within 3 minutes, it's all live. But as long as the router's offline or your internet's down, the phone does not work.
And electricity.
Well, I think, yeah, there are two other solutions here, but some of them depend on the internet connection in your office, so we could, if everyone's, gonna have any further comments, I think we'll just see if we can bump that up to 50 meg, at least get a price for 50 meg, and, be done with the internet stuff.
I mean, I think we would be fine for 6 months without any more here. See, but, eventually, when we get.
And that's another option too, yeah, if it's expensive to go up, we could go with this and live with it.
Yeah, of course, if there's another installation process. Otherwise, I would just say yes, go for 50.
I'll comment at the Presbyterian Church. We have been live streaming church service, and we were only on a 10-2 service, and then about halfway through the service, it was getting cut out. So we upgraded to 25, and last week it was fine.
Okay, that's a good point.
And to upgrade to 25, I think we just had to call them and they switched it from 10 to 25.
Okay.
If that's the thing that I would, say start off, that's what trying out. 25 would be adequate. We're gonna be minimal for a while, at least a year.
Yeah, I agree with you. So it might say you guys to be started. So, okay. Next subject is phones. And this is, like I said, from Cox included phones. And, they're charging quite a bit for the phone device itself. But let me just say, it is the VoIP, all these phone solutions are VoIP.
Rates.
And, we've got an estimate from Cox that it will run us, and this is just the phone part, it would run us $950 for the first year. It doesn't include the internet I separated out.
Hey, is that to make you the host? Does that
So,
turn the host privilege to you?
No, it just says host disabled participants.
we might be able to just allow it to share screen.
Allow to record. Click.
If they can't share the screen, so
I don't see it on here for allowing to share the screen.
Yeah,
Now we can make him the host. Whoops.
well, you could. You'll have to watch, well, you could watch chat on this anyway.
Yeah.
You could make him the host, but he'd have to admit anybody new, and that's all he'd have to do. You want to do that, Dan?
Handle the responsibility.
Do you want it? For him to share it, we're gonna have to make him the host, I guess.
I think you're right.
All right.
Try
Dan,
it. We'll
keys.
try it and see how it
All
works.
right. Okay. So we should be able to show your screen.
hopefully we can share this on the Zoom screen.
It started sharing, Dan.
And everybody see it?
Yes, it just popped up here.
On the Zoom screen, the president is, the document.
For the people at home to see it.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so the first option is to go with the class and then the 950 a year, which I think is too high. Another option is I talked to a fellow from Verizon. He provides some Verizon VoIP phone services to HICID and not their office, I don't think, but he does, I could be wrong on that. But I know he does provide the water department for devices. And, anyway, he said that Verizon, can offer a government plan that has a significant, well, not significant, but 20%, I think, is a discount for, their services. And, he quoted me, 2 VoIP phone lines and, an app that you can call One Talk, that you put on your, any device. You can put it on your PC, you put it on your personal cell phone, your personal iPad, or tablet, Android, iOS, either way. And, you can then receive calls on those devices. So you can receive calls on your desktop PC, you can receive calls on your, you use a headset with your desktop PC. So that would be your phone. And you use the app to do call forwarding, voicemail, anything you would do with your normal device. You would have an app on your PC or cell phone or whatever to do those functions that you would normally use a hard device for. And, I did a lot of research on this, and a lot of businesses are now using these VoIP apps as their phones, because it's so simple. It eliminates you having to carry 2 phones with you. So, if you have sort of a virtual cell phone that operates like a cell phone, but an app that goes on your phone. And so, when you want to make a call, using your business number, you open the app, and it has buttons to punch and stuff to do the calling. It will notify you when a call comes in, and you'll open the app and punch buttons to answer the call, or call forward, or do a number of things. You can also text through it using a business phone number. So SMS and internet, I believe. So I might be wrong on the internet, but I know it's SMS.
On your conversations, if nobody answers the phone and it goes to voicemail, does it create an email?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think most all these services that have the app, would send an email to you, with your voicemail, either as a recording, and some of them transcribe it even.
Oh,
Or you can access on the app itself, your voicemails like you would on your iPhone. So,
Very interesting.
very interesting. I mean, it's remarkable. It's just absolutely remarkable technology. And it does eliminate needing to carry two cell phones, so I think that's why it becomes so popular. And it's cheaper too, it's much cheaper than paying $150 either over time or one time for a desk phone, which is about what they cost, let me just say. The Cox phones that they quoted on their, schedule here, this phone runs $149 on Amazon. The next quote, where, there was a Nextiva, you'll see I penciled it in on your paper documents in front of you. Nextiva is a VoIP provider to numerous corporations and businesses all over the US. And they quoted me 2 desk phones plus 2 lines plus an app, does the same thing virtually that OneTalk does, maybe even better. And it was a little more expensive, and their phone was about $145 or $149 if you purchased it outright. So that's what a desk phone costs. And I'm just thinking, how much would you be really using your desk phone versus your cell phone to take calls? I don't know, it's up to you guys to decide though, we could go either way.
The one question, it says one phone line, is that
Oh, on the Nextiva, are you talking?
on option 3, yeah?
Option 3. Oh, that's Ring Central. Yeah, that works a little bit differently. Ring
Okay.
Central.
Okay, you were talking about option 2 yet?
I was talking, Verizon is option 2.
Right.
It includes an app, and they quoted me 2 different estimates, one with smartphones and one with desk phones. And I still need to clarify with him whether you can just get the OneTalk app or not, but the quotes I have are with phones.
Okay, but you were talking.
And then,
with the apps and everything, you were
yeah,
talking about option 3.
Verizon, Ring Central, and Nextiva all have robust apps that do the same sort of stuff, where you can take calls on any device you own, and you can basically, if you're on your desk phone, you can switch the call over as it's in progress to your cell phone and walk out the door. So that's another kind of feature. I'm blown away by this technology, I've got to say, because I haven't really encountered it before.
So the city hall will not be manned, full-time. So if I'm a citizen and want to call, I call city hall and it rings to someone's cell phone?
Mhm.
Okay,
It'll ring to mine, basically,
okay.
because that'd be
The way we were thinking it would be, you would call the mayor or call the recorder treasurer.
Okay, well, I guess my confusion is because we talked, before during the planning and about HICID phones rolling over to them to answer. Is that not on the table anymore?
No.
Okay.
They could take a message and let us know.
well, that's kind of why Lawrence was here. He wanted to
Oh,
know.
you have a solution for that?
He wanted to know why we wouldn't
Two
consider.
different systems not connected is probably the reason.
I think my thoughts on this, when we started the planning and everything, was that somebody would dial into 9700 and the person there manning the desk would determine whether it should go to Lawrence or one of the department heads or whatever, or should go to the city.
Well, if they have the ability to call forward, they could call forward to one of our numbers easily.
Yeah, right.
And then it would,
That-
it would
you
ring
know,
us and they could get into our system
that
and leave a
way-
message.
Whoever calls is talking to a
Yeah.
person.
But even if we weren't here, it would go to a voicemail or
Right.
at the worst case.
And you're gonna have, my vision of this thing, is that people are going to come here with their problem. They don't know may not know who they want to talk to or who they need to talk to. And then they could come in person, or they could call. And that person at the front desk, and that's was part of my vision for the services provided, that they would determine and route them to whoever they need to talk to.
Can I ask that you talk into the mic when you talk, because,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, it just doesn't pick up well on the Zoom.
I can't tell what it's doing.
Okay, but everyone kind of needs to talk into the mic.
But, I just think it would be, easier for the residents to have one number and let them get directed, especially since we're not going, I don't know, one time we talked about having set hours that, Dan would be there to, talk to people.
Well, we could investigate their system. I mean, potentially, they might have the ability to route directly via their telephone desk set to a number to a key that's been programmed with our call forwarding number, and I think that would be worth checking out.
We could have a device right there available to them, or go off of their 9700 number, I don't know.
Yeah, I see there's one issue that I think we need to be thinking about. The HICID system is basically desktop phones. So it's possible that this person by the front desk could take a call from the city, forward it to the mayor's desktop phone or to the recorder's desktop phone. But where does it go from there? Does it just ring and go to an answering machine on that phone until I come in and check my voice messages, and which, could be hours after the call was actually made?
Well, we could use a desktop phone or use this other application where it would use your cell phone.
The Ring Central, I know, it sounded to me like you can set up 12 numbers to call forward to that it cycles through.
All we'd have to do is,
find out how that works, but.
But
give the person at the front desk access to that.
the call central would be on the mayor's desktop phone, or that would be on the HICID switchboard?
Well, let me explain the Ring Central option, because it's a little bit different, okay? Ring Central provides a central number, and then we would get two actual numbers off of it. That would be you and Wes's number, but the main number could be town hall in general. And so they would call the town hall number for anything, and they would be welcomed by a auto attendant that is programmable by us, and say, for this, option 1 to do this, option 2 to do that, kind of, so to speak, And then, if those numbers don't answer, I think you can roll them forward to other numbers. Or you have options at least, whether you want to roll it forward or you want to stop it at there and take a message or what. I think there are lots of options with this one, and you get a central town hall number with it, Ring Central.
I think we need to have Linda investigate this option further and see but we have to decide on the concept that we want to try and implement.
Yeah, Ring Central involves buying no physical devices though. It's strictly cloud.
I think for establishing ourselves as a town hall, as an entity apart from HICID, it's important to have a town hall number.
Yeah, under all these other circumstances, I think we just have to pay for a separate line
Yeah.
to get it.
But this, I can't remember if it was Ring Central, but it was a service very simple, similar that, at one of my newspapers, and it worked pretty well, because, you call the main number, and the automatic attendant, or a real person answers, but then it'll give you options, and, in our case, it was like if you want, a particular salesman, you get one, and the editor two, or whatever, and that worked pretty well.
Yeah, and there are several vendors that sell this type of software. Ring Central is one of the top ones, so.
Personally, I don't, yeah, having a desktop phone, now the next mayor may have a totally different opinion, but for me, having a desktop phone is totally unnecessary. And, especially if it's only there as a call forwarding device. If, I do plan on having, regular hours down here once we get, the office set up. But even after that, the mayor's office has got to be a virtual office where people can get a hold of me anytime, wherever I'm at, and that's my cell phone. So the quickest way to get the person making the call to my cell phone, the quickest and cheapest way to do that is the way that I think we need to go. I don't really see the advantage of having a live person sitting in the office down here answering a phone number only to do a function that could easily be done automatic, where it just directly goes to my phone.
Where do we stand on, I know you mentioned about you and Lawrence will get together on the contract. So when will we know just exactly what HICID, other than housing the space, what services are they going to provide? We can have that agreement in place, kind of the day after the next town council meeting and the next board of commissioners meeting, because they'll have to approve the agreement. But we talked about it for about an hour this morning, and kind of the only thing that's left to fill in the blanks on is this. So we can't write an agreement until we know how the system is going to work and how everybody fits into it. And, there's no need to pad the agreement with tasks for HICID to do that are totally unnecessary. We're committed to doing, things for the least amount of money, so that any money we do have can go towards resurfacing roads and buying fire trucks and not paying people to sit there and answer telephones.
I agree with that, but I think the district's going to get a lot of calls. They do now that they can't do anything with, so they
I would be willing to bet that they do have a way to call forward by pressing a particular key to call forward, a call through, and that key can be tuned to one of our members.
And I'm comfortable with whatever Lawrence is comfortable, and also being responsive to the people, because I guarantee you, a lot of people are gonna call that number when they really need to be talking to you
Well, yeah,
and
yeah,
so,
but that would be call forwarding to the city number,
right,
almost independent of what kind of system the city has.
yeah. So,
Now, if
I
it's
mean,
more,
whatever.
if the simplest way to do it is for the city to have a phone that acts as a link, so that the switchboard person out here can just forward that call that comes in about wild dogs to the city number, and then that automatically dials my cell phone number. That would be fine.
Well, you're gonna have, he's gonna get calls, they're gonna direct them to Lawrence, and there are gonna be some things that he can't handle. But, you know, I hope our working agreement is gonna be such that he could, you know, go ahead and do.
I just don't wanna, you know, I don't wanna overcomplicate it because, the phone isn't gonna ring that often.
No.
It really is not gonna ring that often. And, having a really fancy schmancy system that doesn't even ring once every day is, seems
Oh, you may be
unnecessary.
I hope not.
Because even if I'm sitting at a desk down there, you know, I would just as soon it comes to my cell phone as to a desktop phone.
But the beauty of like a system like this Ring Central is that you can call one number and then click just one key and get anybody. I mean, if we can do to 12 users, we can do one for every counseling, for you, for everybody. And,
You could,
and I mean, and the cost,
I totally agree with you, Jerry. I think that we need to totally investigate that application. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, yeah, most of the calls are gonna be for the mayor, but, you know, when I was on the council in Oklahoma, I got a lot of calls. And, you know, we were in wards, and that, as we look ahead, that might be the best system when we go to wards in 2 years.
and that would be option number 3.
Yeah. Number 3.
Now, I have a question. I want to throw out some ideas.
Yeah.
One thing, now, the Cox proposal, no, Cox is the only one of these that I talked to. And the Cox phone system would have call forward. So you could forward phones like to your cell phone, which we do now. We just started at home. I found out you go to Cox and you go to this Nomo Robo on Cox, and you can block computer generated calls. Plus, there's a simultaneous ring feature, which I have set up for my cell phone. So now when a call comes to my house phone, my cell phone rings at the same time. Which, you know, I don't know. I assume we would have that option with the Cox phones.
Well, it wouldn't know when your home phone rang, or, I mean, but if you're talking about, if you're asking about Ring
Well,
Central,
what I'm talking about is the call would, if that would be set up, say, to my desk phone here, and that would ring. I'm thinking it
I'd
would
have to
probably
check
go right to
the
my cell
solution.
phone
yeah,
right away.
I would have to check which solution we chose
Right.
to know whether, did you ask Cox that question?
Cox, yeah.
About the
Probably
simultaneous
Cox.
ring?
Pardon?
The simultaneous ring, did you ask Cox that?
That's Cox. That was all done through Cox.
What was their answer?
I just programmed it through to do the Nomo Robo, and then you had all these options on Nomo Robo. But you had to go to Cox originally to get the Nomo Robo.
I know there's no more, the robocalls that you have the ability, I feel sure on Ring Central to block robocalls, and some of these others mentioned it.
Another question is, okay, we're talking about when we get down to printers and so on, multifunction printers, which would have fax capabilities.
Yeah, a lot of these have fax.
Wouldn't we have to have a landline to do fax?
No.
No.
You don't have a landline anyway.
These will do faxes, these, virtual ones will all do faxes.
But with Cox, isn't that a landline?
It's not a landline, it's a VoIP, it's internet line.
Okay,
Only way you can get a landline is AT&T.
we've got a landline with Cox.
No, you don't.
Yes, we do.
No, you don't.
No, there's not one here.
Okay, but at home we do.
Oh, okay, you have one at home, sure. I don't think you need one though to do faxes.
It's voice, it's over your internet. It's Cox. Cox does not have landlines.
Okay, but at least it comes to our fax machine, and the people now that don't have landlines, if they wanna, in fact, get a document to me or something, they've gotta take a picture of it and email it to me, and then I've gotta open it up and do a snippet,
I don't think
Take a
anybody
picture.
uses faxes anymore.
and then print it out.
Now, why don't they, if they're scanning it in anyway at their end, why don't they just email you the scanned document?
Pardon?
If they're scanning it to you to get it into a fax, why don't they scan it in and just
Well,
email
they're
it to
taking a
you?
picture and sending me the picture.
Well, same thing. You're scanning it on your
Yes,
computer, your printer, either way when you do a fax. Taking a
No, I
picture
don't know
with
what
your
the
cell
problem
phone
is
is a
there.
little different, but
But,
if you wanna scan it into your computer and then fax it from your computer, you may as well just scan it in as a document and email it.
but I can just go to my printer and send a fax.
Yeah, you
Period.
can. You don't have to go through your computer. You're right.
Doesn't go to the computer or anything, I'll just send it a fax.
Yeah.
And I can also receive it the same way.
It is kind of outdated technology, however.
I don't think very many people use faxes anymore.
No, they don't.
Everything comes email.
However, I
I do-
think
I
all of
do
these
frequently.
solutions include faxing.
I do frequently when I have a lot of pages or something.
I know with the Ring Central, you can receive a fax,
Okay,
but it comes to your app, and so you would manipulate it like a document coming in and saving it to some source on your PC or on your iPhone or whatever.
Wes, on the Cox, information you provided us a month or so ago, that was for a town hall number,
Two numbers.
two numbers,
two phone lines,
with
Would have
one
a
number, two lines.
Would have a separate number for the mayor.
two separate numbers.
But I think, I'm thinking your question might be, can you send a fax from one of the printers we install for the town hall? Is that the question?
And can we also receive a fax?
Yeah, I'll have to check it.
That, he could do that with this app, with the Ring Central app, right?
Well, he's talking about receiving it on the printer, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, that's not necessary. I don't think you have to receive it on the printer to be able to use it.
Well, you can receive it on your computer. And then
Now,
print it.
whether he wants to send it via scanning it into a printer and send it that way, that's a different story.
A whole lot easier, just send
I was
it
gonna
on.
say, why would you wanna do that? If you've got it in your computer, if you can fax by computer, why would you print it out?
I know, that's exactly it. I don't think that's a very efficient way of doing it, actually.
I haven't used it. I did a lot of work back and forth remotely, and I haven't had a fax machine in 10 years probably.
Give me a circumstance that you would want to fax something to someone.
Anyway, we might
Oh,
get-
if I'm faxing applications or something,
That you filled out by
I've had
hand?
some, well, I would have the documents. And then, yeah, I just load them into the printer and tell it to fax, and it just feeds them through and faxes it.
You can do the same thing from your computer. You're creating a separate
But if it's
step.
not in the computer,
The only reason it would not be in the computer is if you were adding handwriting to it.
well, if I had forms to fill out and then send.
Right. But you could scan those in so that you saved a copy of them on your computer, right?
You got to scan it to fax it. So
I suppose, and then attach it to an email or something, I suppose you could do that too. but-
Exactly. And that way you have a copy of exactly what you sent.
but when I send it, I've also got a copy, because after it goes through the printer,
But you're saving it
I've
in
got
hard
the
copy.
documents that were faxed and also the report that it was faxed and received.
True. Okay. Maybe we can take that discussion offline to figure out what he needs on a printer. And I'll check and see whether the printers would support being hooked up to a VoIP internet connection, which would mean we might have to go with one of the hardwired internet connections.
Okay.
Okay.
I have another question about the phones.
Before you go, I want
Yes,
to
go
make
ahead.
a comment to the people on Zoom here. I saw that there was a couple of people had their hands raised. In order to conserve time, we're not really going to open the discussion up to the public in this workshop. I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that have knowledge and expertise to contribute to this exercise. If you want to talk to people about that, just contact Linda Graves directly.
Send me an email.
After I'm making a command decision here, to contact Linda Graves. Her number's in the book, and you can share your ideas with her. But we have to be out of here by,
Yeah, we've got to.
Probably no later than 12 o'clock.
The comment I wanted to make was if we have a business phone, our city phone number being forwarded to a private phone, that may open your private phone conversations and logs to FOIA. So I think we need to
Have a
stay with a
solution.
business phone number.
I have a solution
Okay.
for that.
All right?
All of these Ring Centrals and all of these that use an app, they do call tracking, and you can print reports from their system. So if we needed to FOIA who's made calls, what way, calls incoming, calls outgoing from the business number, that can be done with the app.
But the conversation I heard was to have the city number forwarded to my personal phone. We want to avoid that.
It would be forwarded to your business
To your
number.
device, but the business phone number would be used.
And the call log would remain available,
Right,
okay?
okay.
Personal phone means only hardware.
Well, no, if a business number is forwarded to my personal phone number, it's a personal call.
Yeah, I know, but I thought on this option 3, it was forwarding it to a different
That's-
number
To the
on
app.
the device.
They can't FOIA a copy of the conversation you
Correct.
had. They can FOIA the call log showing
Right.
it was forwarded to your number, and that's perfectly fine.
Okay, all right.
Okay, shall we move on to email?
One last question on this. If we go with option 3, and the call is forwarded to a city phone number on my personal device, how does that affect my data plan and things like that?
It affects it,
It might, yeah.
because your phone is the device on the network, so it would affect your data plan
All right,
personally.
so
That's interesting.
I need unlimited data.
Or a
In order
big data
to-
plan, yeah. I have a limited one, but I never exceed it. I usually got them.
The other option would be to buy cell phones, and you'd have to carry a separate one. And
Yeah, that's what we wanted to avoid having to carry 2 cell phones.
Is your plan now unlimited, your personal plan?
No.
How limited is it?
Well, if we go on trips and Terry plays Word with Friends all the way from here to California, we run into trouble.
We have this, what do they call it, a senior plan or something like that with Verizon. It's $40 or $45 a month, and it's unlimited data.
Yeah, we'll have to look into something like that.
Mine's
Now, actually,
unlimited with AT&T.
you would only be using your data if you were not
$40
using your
a
home
On the
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, right.
So it'd be only those times when you were out, away and.
Yeah.
Hey,
It might be limited.
under proposed, for first couple of years, I do not see this as being a problem. I don't think you're gonna have that kind of volume.
And I don't think there's that much data involved, frankly. More than any other app that you have.
You're not gonna, I mean, there'll be voice conversations, so that's very limited, David.
Right. Okay,
Okay, you wanna go to email?
sure.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to email. Okay, we're looking for an email provider that preserves all of our emails permanently off-site. So that there's no risk of disruption.
When you say off-site, you mean?
And on their server, on a provider's server,
Right, okay.
that's protected and backed up and all that kind of
Right.
good stuff.
And there's a lot of apps or software out there that does that. I've been researching that.
Yeah. And a search mechanism is available for locating emails pertaining to various search criteria for FOIA purposes. That we have the ability for a local administrator to set up and cancel email addresses. That we can use various applications for local retrieval and storage on our personal devices. We have training and instructional tools to use the email system, and we can use our own domain name, like holidayisland.gov or cityofholidayisland.com or whatever we choose as the back end for our email addresses. So option one, and this is the only quote I've gotten, is use one-in-one Ionos, which is what HiSid uses. They are a big provider of email systems like this. They have very capable archival and search criteria. They, as far as I can tell, they meet all those things that I had said. I talked with them yesterday, and the basic cost would be about $300 the first year and $560 for every year thereafter for, I think the number of emails that we need, which is less than 10. So, any questions on that one?
I don't understand where you go from 300 to.
Well, they're discounting your first year, basically, by
Oh,
half.
okay, so,
Yeah.
but that's for the 10.
It's a
10
come on, get you,
10 addresses.
It's 10, yeah.
Okay.
And what I did was I think I costed it out as 7 or 8, something like that, when I did that estimate.
Okay.
But it's pretty good, a good deal for the first year, and then it gets more expensive if you stay with them, of course.
I tried to do some research on
Yeah.
email servers online, and, they come up with several of them that are, software applications that reside on your PC. And I could not really get into them deep enough to really figure out how they worked. I think somebody else figured it.
Ionis is perfectly compatible with Outlook, and they'll give you instructions for how to set it up in Outlook on your
Okay.
devices. So you're not messing with going to their server every time you want to do something.
Yeah, well, these things were all free, but when things are free,
Yeah, you gotta watch out.
I was trying to get down to, but I think the only other thing I would suggest here is we talk to some of the other local towns and see what.
Well, option 2 is looking at IT in a Box, because they also provide emails, kind of like this, but I haven't been able to get them, so
Okay.
they haven't called me back.
Lawrence, your experience with this company?
Yeah, this is the company you use, Ionis, one-in-one.
I actually use both systems. I have it forwarded to Microsoft Outlook. But the great thing about this system is I can access it anywhere on my phone. So my own personal experience is, I like it. So, it's very simple and easy to use.
Well, I mean, we definitely have to have this, and we do not want to be using our personal email accounts.
And they said if we want to, use their email system with our own domain name, they will acquire the domain name for us and we will pay them for the domain name. Actually, I think it's free maybe for the first year or something, but we would be paying them yearly for our domain. And then we can use any website builder to build on that for our website too. He said we weren't restricted to just using them.
Okay, when you're talking about domain, you're talking about a website?
The URL.
Do we have to have that for this?
Yeah, if you want to back end an email address with it, you have to have acquired that domain name and own it.
Okay.
Lynn, when you checked on that holiday.us.gov, did you get a price on it?
I did not go any further with it. But there's a government entity that manages the .gov addresses. So we have to have a resolution and signed and dated on city letterhead along with the application. So it's not a big deal, it's just we have to go through a different entity than an ISP provider.
Actually, that might be a good discussion to have right now. What does everyone think about using a .gov versus a .us or .com?
Just doing a little bit of snooping, I didn't see very many cities that use .gov. I would have thought they would have all used .gov.
Probably because they make it so hard to
Either that or it's more expensive than other options.
Or it was set up prior to .gov comes out, I don't know.
.gov is fairly recent.
Those email addresses, was it email addresses? Yeah. That I emailed people as examples of what area and places we're doing. I think only one of them was out of 6 or 7 that I looked at was actually .gov.
Yeah, they were all basically .com, weren't they?
.us.
Yeah. I kind of like the .us, kind of to be consistent with HICID, but I'm easy too, so I'll go with whatever the, majority
Well, I
wants.
think that the basic question to ask right now, and we can poll the people here, is do we want to, are we ruling out sharing the www.holidayisland.us domain with HICID? If we're ruling that out, then we can kind of do anything we want.
Even if we went with that, we could still have a separate domain name for our emails.
Okay.
I mean, that wouldn't negate having a separate domain name for our emails.
Yes, we can own a domain without having a web presence. We can do that.
Yeah.
And that would probably be the best thing we could do, be the right thing to do, to own a domain name.
Yeah, if we're gonna, I think we should reserve one at least, right?
Yeah, because you may, even if you do a sharing, you want to, at some point, you're gonna want to transition probably. Maybe.
You might down the road at least.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
I would think, unless you can find something that would be at no cost, and there are some of them, but it's gonna be harder for us to implement since we don't have any employees.
well, what we could do is you all bring your own suggested domain names to the next meeting and we can vote on them or something.
You're talking about domain
Or
names
Dan
or
can choose
email
one,
names?
whatever you want to do, Dan.
What are the advantages of saying .us over .gov or whatever? What's the difference?
Well, the advantage with the .gov is that only Holiday Island, the city, can apply for it and own it, because of the requirements of being a city official action. So that one can't be stolen.
Well, once you own it and pay for it, it can't be stolen either.
That's true. but no one can go in there and get it from us.
Right,
I get, you know, if we
it'll
could,
always be there for us if
I
we
guess,
want it.
you know, the only thing I would know would be to talk to some of the other municipalities or the municipal league and see what, you know, if somebody has some first-hand knowledge of why they would use the US as opposed to the geo.
Well, I think it's what Lawrence said. I mean, if US, .us or .gov is a recent development, I mean, you know, we're the new kid on the block, so unless there's another new kid, everybody else established websites 15, 20 years ago.
Well, in doing, you know, internet searches, the advantage of .gov is that you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to the government, the city government website.
Right. As
You
you
know,
go in
that's
now, you get a whole lot of,
That's one of the problems I have when I try to find, well, what's the city budget for Green Forest look like? So I Google Green Forest, and you get, you know, 7 or 8 different Green Forest, you know, options, and none of them are obviously the city.
right.
And, so you may have to go through 2 or 3 or 4, you know, unless, you know, some of them, some people have put city of, you know, like city of Holiday Island in the domain, like city of Holiday Island.us. That makes it pretty obvious too.
Well,
But if you just go, you know, holidayisland.com or something like that.
I
And
think we just,
holidayisland.com is already taken
Yeah,
as a
and
business.
that's the problem. There's already, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 of them out there with Holiday Island in it that,
And there's a Holiday Island AR that's a business.com. So
yeah, and I think one of them is owned by some advertising outfit in Florida that, you know, they just buy up domain names.
I experienced the same thing when I was trying to find meeting times and everything. You know, half the stuff I got was marketing, you know, like hotels and just things to see, and I had a heck of a time actually getting to the official site.
Search on Google says that, from the .gov domain name is $400 per year.
What's the US?
Yeah,
Excuse me?
How much is the US?
And the others, in my experience, is like $15 a year.
yeah.
But it
probably.
depends on your provider, you know, if we use this, Ring Central and they get it for us, they may charge us $50 or something, you know.
Oh, it's Ionis, the mail.
Ionis, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I think that would be something else.
and I think they give it to you free if it's not a .gov, the first year at least, and maybe 15 thereafter or something reasonable.
I don't see any reason to use .gov, because hardly anybody does. So I'd suggest we go with, if we don't share the domain name with the district, I would say city of Holiday Island
That's
dot
my vote.
something. That way it's obvious to people when they're doing a Google search that they're getting the city website.
Yeah.
And like we talked previously, you can have links on the HICID website to the city website, you can have links on the city website to the district website, so.
So can we put that on the agenda to, affirm it or vote on it next time?
19th?
Yeah, is that okay, Dan?
Just so you know, because we've talked about it, anybody can go out there and take their
Or
registration
do
for
we want to wait till
$15.
we have a complete proposal?
We don't need
and
the whole
approve
thing.
that?
We could move forward with the emails maybe by the next meeting at least,
Okay.
what I'm thinking.
All right.
Because I think we need that quicker than anything.
Well, why don't you write a resolution?
Okay.
Because the council members are supposed to present the resolutions anyway.
Okay.
So I would appreciate it if you would do
I'll
that.
try getting some experience with that.
A good resolution has at least 2 whereases.
is she gonna propose?
I'm gonna propose,
A domain name
domain name
for the
for
email.
email.
Okay,
Could be a permanent one if we want.
okay.
Would you check with that company and see the difference in the pricing in .gov and .us?
I think Lynn just told you it's 400 for.
Well, I know, but you said you thought through them it would might be cheaper.
I'll check it out. I will,
I mean,
definitely.
it's, you know, just, I like the idea of making sure that
Yeah,
people can really know where they're going.
good point. Okay, I think we can move on because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Okay, on-site support services, I plan to check Megabyte. The other option, Megabyte is the provider for ISIT. They're
Yes.
they're a company in Rogers. When I went online, I noticed they specialize in Apple products. That's what they're touting on their online website, and I'm wondering, how does this compute? They're giving us PC support for Windows, so. But they were very confident,
Somebody calling there.
so I know they're very confident in what they do, and the guy I spoke with was very nice. Also, I'm gonna check what IT in a Box, they have some services like that too, see what they, what kind of contract they have. And, or we could just go with a local IT guy,
I think, our requirements are gonna be minimal for a long time. I think we don't need somebody we're paying a monthly fee for a while.
Well, I would like someone that we can consult with about, especially like how to do our backup and recovery and storage and what have you. I think that's a particularly interesting situation that we need to be very careful about how we do it. And
Well, that's a one-time.
it's a one-time deal, but it would take a few, some consulting expertise and,
I bet we could sit down and figure it out.
well, I know, but I don't want to. I don't want to risk losing all of our data because I made a stupid mistake. You know what I mean? I want someone who knows something
I can
about it.
attest to that with the rotary debacle.
Well, I think when our knowledge is limited and we have access to people whose knowledge is much greater than ours, when we're doing city business that's so important and we need to protect our resources and our data, it's worth hiring a professional.
On the municipal league recommendation, when have they promised an estimate on that?
I thought I'd have it by Monday.
I mean, that
So,
solves what we're
I
talking about.
talked to them
having-
last week, and, I was sure I would get a call by Monday, but no.
Our training starts at 12:30,
Yeah, that you're supposed to.
and I,
Have to log in before that.
yeah, so,
Okay. I'm gonna move on.
Just one comment.
Yeah.
I agree, we need to, if we start working with somebody, it needs to be somebody that's fully capable. But we do have some people moving into Holiday Island with the intent to start up a business, an IT support business. I think a lot of it is more geared towards website development and that kind of, software kind of support and hardware support and stuff, but I think it would be good to at least check around to see, who, if there's somebody qualified locally here in Holiday Island, would like for us to use them.
Well, and that's why I put it down as option 3, because I think there could be that person out there. And as long as they had experience with a fairly good-sized company doing this type of stuff, I think that would be
I
okay.
got, there was a lady and a daughter at the chamber meeting. I got her contact information, and I think there's at least 1 or 2 others that, are here in Holiday Island now, so. Well,
Okay.
it's worth at least checking them out.
Yeah, so, again, if anyone in the audience has any ideas and wants to run them by us, let us know. Okay, going on to computers, another thing, we need 2 desktop or laptop computers for the mayor and recorder treasurer. I listed a whole bunch of configuration specs down that I think is a minimal configuration. I was talking yesterday to David Orr, who has a background in this sort of stuff, and he thinks we absolutely need to go with, and rather than an I-5, an I-7, for longevity, that it would last longer than an I-5 in terms of years.
I think the I5s are what you're quoting for laptops, I7s you can get with a desktop.
It might be, yeah, because desktops run a little cheaper per
And you
processor.
know, I think we need one of each.
Now, that's an option too that I think is worth
I think,
doing.
I would
We
say
could go
that,
with an I-5
I'd say
and an
his,
I-7.
the recorder,
He needs an I-7 and Dan could go with an I-5.
well, a desktop.
Yeah,
No, I want a desktop.
and I was gonna ask for your personal preference. I think we can go with your personal preference.
The other, and some of the desktops, you can get up to a terabyte disk drive.
Oh, all of them have
Most are.
terabyte.
You look at them, most are terabyte.
Yeah, they are.
I can go either way. The only
What would you
reason,
prefer?
the only advantage to having
I-
one of the computers be a laptop is if we need to bring it in here to
Well,
run a Zoom meeting or something.
That's why I think you need a laptop for, you know, what do you call it, the PowerPoint presentations that we would
Yeah.
use for
Well,
meetings.
why don't we make,
Right.
go with a laptop for Dan and a desktop for Wes, and split, you get an I-5, you get an I-7, something like that.
You may be able to get it.
Because I don't think you're gonna do gaming on it, are you?
I think you might be able to get an I7 with the laptop.
David said, he can put us in contact with a Dell representative that services Green Forest, and she might be able to.
I don't know,
his prices a little.
I always just ordered mine on, you know, my phone.
I do too, but
And
he seemed to think that she could get us a better deal, so I'm gonna talk to her and see if she can or not.
I'll be fine, but,
Is Dell okay with everybody?
I don't
Or
know.
what do you use at home, Wes?
HP.
Okay,
Samsung.
You know,
I use a little bit of everything, so.
I think Dell is, I don't know, I've used them for 20 years, and the only reason I ever get rid of them is because of software upgrades, and now
You
you know,
use an HP.
they've gone to Windows 10, and,
Yours is an HP. isn't it?
This is an HP.
they're.
We can go with HPs, if
Probably.
HPs, I think they're
Well,
probably
you
as good as Dell.
get the price for the two.
And I don't know about,
to do downstairs,
Dell has.
up and then, yeah, we'll
Government.
get them in files
purchasing
and take them to the
site
storage area.
online. It's very easy to access.
Okay, thank you. You
But
can
it's
put me in
bag,
contact
you
with
can put them
that.
in bags too, so.
I don't know.
And talking about PowerPoint presentations, I have a personal PowerPoint projector that I'd like to donate to you. So you don't have to worry about buying one.
Okay.
I
Okay,
haven't used it in 3 years, so I think you'll put better use to it.
okay. I'm sure we'll take it. That's
But
good.
I don't know, I don't, the 2.5 gigahertz, that's for, what is that?
That's the processor speed.
No, okay.
Usually the lowest is 2.5 going up to 4.9, for max speed, so.
I mean, either one of those would be more than what we need, but you're buying a computer nowadays and in, 6 to 8 years, you're using it, so you need to be, my experience is you buy the biggest thing you can buy.
Oh, that's kind of the advice David got too.
Huh?
That's what David was telling me.
Anytime I bought them, I usually go for,
So we'll see if what we can fit in the maybe 2100 to 2500 range. Does that sound reasonable?
no, heck, you can buy one for, I got a catalog at home, I just got from Dell, and it's, 1,000.
Actually, this is for 2 machines. These
Oh,
prices
okay.
are for 2 machines.
Okay, I was gonna
And
say,
they include the monitors, the software, and everything. So,
okay, I thought you were meeting me.
no, not per machine at all.
And you get a laptop for around 8, and then the other one, they're 1,000 or 12.
I think we could probably get pretty
And if
pretty
you get
good ones for
government
25
contract, you
grand.
probably get it cheaper.
Uh,
What's gonna cost you now is that, Microsoft Office, you know, runs you,
$249.
okay. Is that 1 year?
Yeah, you might
You know,
have to
everything's a subscription anymore.
pay for the license fee to
Yeah.
renew it.
The only other thing you're probably gonna need is, Adobe,
I agree with that.
because
I
there's so
think I
much
listed
stuff
it
that you
here.
get, incoming documents or
Did I put that on there?
PDF documents and, I don't see it.
And some real good antivirus,
Well, I don't know, I
Yeah.
just, if you
Yeah,
get one that
antivirus.
comes with, Microsoft that I use, and it's been very adequate.
I left off the antivirus. I did make a note at home that I think we want Adobe Acrobat. Now, you have to buy that with a licensing fee now.
I don't know, not so much,
So much a month.
so much is gone, so much a year, you don't want
Yeah,
to.
it's so much a year, but it is so helpful to send out documents that you don't have to have Word or PowerPoint on your device to open, and to be able to combine pages and, I have it on my PC,
I think you need Adobe.
Adobe, so I'll put that down too. Okay, does that sound good to everybody? You okay? Okay. Oh, do you want us to do HP? If you two could chime in, do you want us
That's what I'm
to try to do
used to.
HPs if we
Everything
can?
that I've got is HP,
HP works for me.
Okay.
and I agree.
Yeah,
We'll see if they have a government site that we can go to.
Just wait and see what the prices are.
I agree with Ken too, when I buy something, I normally get it as good as it is, because then it lasts a long time.
This is coming in here that we know nothing about.
Very true.
Besides,
At least two or three words.
Okay, are we ready to move on to printers? Printers? Printers is the next option here. If we need to cut back on the money spent for printers, I've listed 4 different printers here that I priced out, that provide various kinds of functionality. So there's a color laser is printer, the first one. The second one is a monochrome laser, only prints black and white. They're cheaper and they print faster. Printer 3 was a micro laser that uses micro toner, MICR toner, which is the magnetized ink that is used to print checks. On blank check stock, because it prints the bank numbers and the routing numbers at the bottom. And
why do we need a projector?
well, we don't necessarily,
I mean, we don't write
because,
that.
but let me explain
Okay.
that a micro printer to print, if you're printing checks rather than handwriting them out of a checkbook, if you're printing your checks, and our software will print checks, microtoner and a micro printer is the most secure, fraud risk less. It prevents fraud in the best way possible than any other way of printing checks. Now, I don't know that we're at risk for fraud a whole lot out here, but it is something to consider. It does cost money to buy one of these laser printers that prints micro ink. So, and Wes had also tossed out that we could print checks on a laser printer or DeskJet for that matter too, just with pre-printed checks that have the bank numbers on them already. And I think the reason the microtoner is a little safer is because if you have pre-printed stock sitting around, it can be
help.
stolen.
It has to have the magnetic qualities, doesn't it? For the banks to process it.
It has to be special
Yeah, I got-
printed stock,
Right.
but if someone stole your check stock, they could print checks themselves. because they're not using any.
But that printer would be limited for that use, to just crank out checks?
If it has microtoner cartridge in it, you can switch out the cartridge and put a regular cartridge in it if you needed to in a pinch. Normally, if you wanted to use it for something different, you'd have to switch the printer cartridge.
Sweater or sweatshirt or something.
Yeah, I'll go.
Fine by yourself.
It has a different look to it when it's.
Yeah, she's gonna.
And so that banks can easily recognize it.
If we're looking at total cost of ownership, pre-printed checks have a price as well.
Yeah, they do.
And you always gotta do a lineup check, and if it doesn't work, you gotta do another one, you gotta mess with your check register when you destroy one, so pre-printed checks have their problems.
Yeah. And I figure it's up to Wes to decide.
Well, and I have checked, for instance, we don't buy checks from the bank up here anymore because their cost is ridiculous. I think for our church, I bought 200 checks and it was $240. A buck 20 a check. So I have started, you go to Costco and you can order checks there. They're printed by Harlem Checks, not Deluxe. They're printed by Harlem Checks, which is a check printing company too. And there are 500 voucher checks, which is the check at the top and 2 vouchers under it. 500 is $40.88 or something like that. So we would need 2 sets of checks, one for street and one for general. So we'd have 1,000 checks for $80.
That only lasts about 6 years.
Yeah, right. But the only option there that I looked was to order 500.
And we're gonna need to keep them in a safe.
And like here, I think the proposal we got from the software people, and I know they want to sell their printer and their stuff. But
That's way overpriced.
they're looking at what, $600
$6.95
for 1,000 checks? So
Yeah.
you're looking at 60 cents a check, and I'm looking at 8 cents a check.
But they didn't even tell you the individual price of the check stock that they give us either, so you can buy that on Amazon too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I priced out a different printer as number 3 and got a price with $280 for the printer and toner, and you can buy 1,000 checks, I think, for under $100. The blank check stock.
I just don't see we need that.
So it's up for discussion whether we need that printer or not. That makes a difference in our printer configuration, so.
The one thing we don't wanna do is buy 5 years worth of blank checks that say Town of Holiday Island. And then, in April, change that to
Right.
City of Holiday Island.
Well, that's
So
true.
something to consider, if we print everything from blank stock, then we can change it when we need to.
And, and I don't know if we need to order checks right away.
We don't
I
know
don't see that we're gonna be
anything.
writing that many.
I said, we only need one check.
Guys keep.
One way of holding expenses down.
We ain't got any money. I think we need to go in on printer, we need to go in and blow.
If you want to, we could also talk, maybe we should, I think deciding whether we need a micro printer or not is a key point in the discussion. We might need to, and I'm just gonna, I think we should leave that up to Wes and Dan to decide personally, so.
Which means we're leaving it up to Wes to decide.
Well, I would think we could get by without that for a while.
I think
And
we
that's
got
true.
by without it for a long time.
Yeah.
But, and yeah, you may find you don't need it, but it's not a necessity.
Pardon?
It's not a necessity.
Right.
I mean, it's an option. And if you don't think you're at risk for fraud, I don't think I think you'd get by cheaper without it.
My only requirements are that it do, two-sided copying, black and white and color, and, scan. That's really the only thing I ever use, and I don't see it being much different, for me personally.
That number one would fit that bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a color and black and white. The only problem is it's slower than a monochrome on its output. And so you're waiting for, if you're doing large documents, you're waiting to turn them out in multiple
Yeah.
copies.
I
So,
don't see why we.
but it
would
has
be
all
doing
the
that.
functions.
And then, Wes, whatever requirements Wes has for
Well,
check printing,
I would think we'd want to be able to do legal,
Yeah, but all of these
legal
are
size,
legal and
and
letter.
duplex, print on
Yeah,
both
they're all
sides.
duplex.
Will they scan legal? That's the issue.
I believe so. I
Yeah.
believe
Okay.
so.
Ours,
Right.
we've got an office jet at home, and it does all of those, and you set it, if you're scanning letter or legal size.
Because you have a big enough glass.
Yeah.
The plate has to be big enough to hold the legal.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
That's a good price on that too.
$4.50.
$4.50 for 22 per minute, and the only difference in the 600 is it does 28 per minute. Black and white, that's not the color, by the way, but that's the black and white speed. Any other questions? The multifunction, does print, copy, scan, and fax,
What is it?
but I have to see if it works hooked up to a VoIP line.
Mhm.
I know the four says, letter size only.
Well,
so we're looking at print.
Well, the higher cost one, the high end of the cost is a,
Well, I think you're talking about printer one, right?
yeah, if you
Well-
mentioned, if the inkjet, if you wanted to go with the monochrome and the inkjet,
No, we don't want
You'll throw that away in a couple of years.
probably, because it's cheap, yeah.
Yeah,
My desk jets don't last me hardly more than 2 years, and I give them a workout.
which one are we talking about?
Well, either one you wanna talk about.
One or two?
Well, those are the laser jets, one's monochrome and one's color.
And
So printer one, I think, is the
does
preferred
everything.
option so
That's
far
one
You can
stop
get
shop.
by with that and not have anything
for a long
else.
time.
Now, the problem is you don't have a backup if it goes crazy on you, so.
now, is that one, is that a laser or,
It's a laser, number one is a laser. Color and black and white both.
well, and I would say, we have an office jet at home. And I think it was rated like at 180 copies per month or something like that, which is, and I don't
This is rated a
run
little
that,
higher than that.
I use maybe a little over a piece of paper a year, and I've used that one for, I don't know, 3-4 years already with no problem.
I think I looked at the rating on these, the number one, both the 450 and 600, I think they had all the capability and copies per month that you would need.
Now, when it says Apple AirPrint capable, I guess I don't.
That
we don't
means if
use
you have an
Apple.
iPhone and you wanna print something on your iPhone, off your iPhone, you can just,
What about
print.
Android?
probably the same thing. I think you may have to use their app to do that with Android. Cause they have an app to put on your personal device for printing. Which might be important if you went with Ring Central or one of those that you use the app and got something from somebody that you wanted to print.
I think the number one would probably be,
It's the most versatile, and it would do, all,
given the volume we're gonna be doing, that thing should last 6 to 8 years.
I would think so.
okay. Sounds like we wanna go with number one and then see if we need something else later.
Yeah.
Check and see if that's available on that contract.
Contract? Oh, that was a Dell contract. I can check and see if HP has a government plan though.
Alright. Okay, we need to get going on this.
Okay, maybe we can whiz through the rest of it quickly. What's next here? Okay, accounting software, I think that's a no-brainer. We want to go with CSA software, one seat for Wes.
My only, I need to know what the support is at. That's a lot of money,
You get,
and you're gonna be, you know, for the first year, we're gonna be doing.
that's a point, I mean, it is a point. If you wanted to delay it till the second year, you might be able to get by with a spreadsheet the first year.
I instituted an accounting system and stuff for the ambulance district, and I run it and run it for 8 years now, just using Quicken. And I have it audited, or had it audited every year by, what's her name? Christy Ball. You just use, you can set Quicken up and you can have budgets and you can have as many, you know, you can have a different company for each one of the accounts, you know, street, general, until you get down the line, you know. So we actually be doing, you know, that's a lot of money.
There's also state statutes that require we have certain functionality and certain reports have to be filed electronically. So the software that we buy has to support all those requirements.
They're talking to them that this software is all approved by legislative on it.
I wanna see the requirements. And
Don't you
I
think
talked
it
to
should
the
be Wes's
CPA.
decision?
Huh?
I said, don't you think it should be Wes's decision?
What?
He's the one that has to live with it.
I know, and at some point in time,
And we don't want to use too much of his time. He's
Right.
doing this.
I don't wanna have to be setting up a separate accounting system and worry about it meeting the state requirements.
that's a lot of damn money.
It is a lot of money, but
And you're not gonna be doing anything for a year.
Except filing every report.
Is that
yeah,
what is?
We've got to
all
file-
the reports have to be filed, even if they have
Right.
zeros in them. So
Right,
What is the 1 year,
That they will come and install it for you. They will train you on it. And then you can, call and have online help,
right.
unlimited during the year.
our,
And they're very responsive to HICID. I know HICID has had no problems.
our cash flow is going to demand that this not be done in the first 6 months, so we can put this in the plan, but it won't be.
I have no problem with it in the plant, you know, when we actually get up and, you know, really going, but, you know, it's overkill to start with, anyway.
I think if you
Well,
buy
I
it
think
mid-year, Wes may have to backfill the transactions into
Right.
it probably when you first get started.
You know, I've got to issue monthly reports to you. And then I think the requirement is we have to file an annual report with the state, and then it has to be audited.
I'm doing, you know, never mind. I'm just saying you get there a whole lot cheaper for the first couple of years. But,
Well, we're gonna, no matter what time of year we buy this, we have to outlay the whole amount initially.
Right.
It's not a monthly deal.
And I'd say, once we start getting money coming in, I think we'll be doing everything from that point on that we'll be doing pretty much into the future.
You're still gonna have less than 12 transactions a month, probably. I would like to see the accounting, the requirements.
Setting up
We're back
a
now.
new accounting system.
We got our
I still have an internet signal here.
I'm no longer hosting the meeting.
Okay, you are now.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we're okay. Okay. Have we talked about this enough?
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna move on to, the website. Oh boy, that's gonna be a long discussion now. And we'd already talked about data storage. I think we can buy enough data storage on site for 200, and maybe not even that much.
The only comment I make about data storage, because the issues that we've talked about with security, that if a device, a PC, a laptop gets infected and it's hooked to the network, it goes right to your data storage unit as well. So we just have to handle that data storage unit gracefully, like not have it on until we're ready to use it and then disconnect it.
Well, actually, I think we might even use one that's just, you just plug in USB to your PC.
Okay, all right.
And rather than LAN connected, because I agree that
Okay.
that is a risk.
That would be my suggestion, it'd be a separate unit.
Okay.
And
So
you-
maybe
you
that's
got
a
the
little
other-
bit of it.
The other thing is you need to, your backups need to be stored someplace different where the computers are.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, we can use a combination of, USB or connected drives to do backups, and then also back up to a cloud server, so that we have it fully secured.
Yeah.
But we need to talk to a consultant about that.
Yeah, writing the scripts to do those backups is,
Well, they have software to do it.
yeah.
And the reason I made that comment is because your last note says Ethernet connected, and I prefer we don't do that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
kind of rethink that too.
Okay.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I would suggest, like on ours, I've got an external hard drive that's plugged in all the time, but I have to tell it when it's supposed to back up. And then I have an old, I had replaced the hard drive, and I do a full copy of everything on the hard drive, like once a month or whatever. And I would have a spot, a secure spot that's about as good as a bank safety deposit box under our front porch. It's all encased in concrete walls.
That's pretty good.
Not so
I could
good.
take I could take an external
Say-
drive and
Mayonnaise jar, but the bagels.
But we can work out the backup and the storage and all that details, but anyway.
Okay, we'll go back and talk about website for a bit then. I think a website is essential. I did talk to the gal that developed the HICID website. We had a good discussion, and she sent me a proposal with two options. One, to have a standalone website, and the other one to hack into the HICID website and then do a split of the information in some easily understandable fashion to explain this is city government, this is HICID's functions, and then here's all the information about the city, and here's all the information about HICID. And then there's, data that they kind of share, like the community data that's out there, and the, stuff about our community that's out there would be shared between us. And that has a lot of pros with it, because and she explains it better in her proposal, which I can send to y'all, but we already have the benefit of 7+ years of using HICID's website. And because of that, the HICID website gets priority with search engine optimization. And so when anyone does a search looking for Holiday Island, it's one of the first websites that you see on the Google search page. And because it's been around for so long. If we build our own website using our own domain name, it's going to be way down in the searches because it's new. No one's seen it before. No one's used it before. It doesn't have the traffic history. So that's one reason to, if not immediately, eventually join with HICID in an effort to, update one website for all of us. And, now, that's my personal, preference in how we do our website eventually. Initially, I think we could really benefit by having a web presence, using perhaps the domain name that we use for our emails. And, you know, if we change later to tack into HICID's, you could always point that domain name to the HICID website. So that would be the one that came up if they happen to use that URL. So, but we could create our own website initially for almost free. We could do it for free, except that we can't have a domain name that we want. But I tried two different website builders. One was Weebly, W-E-E-B-L-Y, Weebly, and the other one was Wix, W-I-X. Those are two popular website builders. I went out there and built a prototype for us in each one, showing just a general structure, very simplified structure. And I gave you links to the prototypes in this document. So if you want to go check them out and look at them, you can. I talked to David Orr last night. He built the Green Forest Cities website in Wix, actually.
Well, I looked at when I was trying to find some information, and I went into Eureka, Berryville, Green Forest, and Green Forest was the best website I saw of the three.
Actually, Lynn and I liked the looks of the Wix version over the Weebly version quite a bit. It is a much slicker look.
I don't know which was which, but I'm
And it
just
was
saying
easier
that
to use.
the Green Forest one was a lot easier to actually find
It
stuff.
was very straightforward, I
Yeah,
know.
The worst is Eureka Springs.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I gave
It's
up.
impossible to find anything on that website.
I think that's.
Huntsville has got a really good one.
I was impressed by the Huntsville one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
A
Huntsville.
lot has to do with the designer and how they've designed it.
The Huntsville one is very user-friendly, easy to find what you're looking for.
You might call,
I think I will.
yeah,
I'll call
was
them.
it, Dan sent out an email.
See what they use. Now, some of these cities and towns use IT in a box to
Uh,
build their website.
Again, this is an item that we don't have to decide on, you know,
Right.
for another 3
But
or 4 months.
But actually, you know, if we could decide on this at the next meeting and get our domain name, we could whip out a quick and simple, website that we could use to post our documents on immediately.
That's very important, to get out there, because, you know, if there's an issue or something we do, we need to be out there, where we can set the narrative, having our documents out there, and not let
It'll
those.
be handy, you know, put the
I
resolution.
mean, we've already passed 9 resolutions and nobody has any access to them unless they call me or Wes, and we'll run them a copy or email them a copy. So,
So my suggestion is we pass a resolution to do that at the next meeting so that we could get started with it and create a cheap website that doesn't cost us much.
you already know what I'm gonna say.
That's two resolutions.
I got it. I'll have it ready.
You're gonna leave here with a long to-do
Okay.
list.
How soon is that meeting?
Next week,
19.
I think.
For God's sake. Okay. Okay. But anyway, yeah, I think we can do it real easily that way. And then maybe look at tying into the HICID website, using next year's budget or something, and maybe we could split the costs some way or another with HICID for it'll cost about $5,700, I think, was the cost to modify the HICID website to include us, if y'all wanna do that.
The point that I have with that is you talk about the history of HICID for 7 years and carries are you gonna change the name of their site? Because if you go the city of Holiday Island and whatever link, it's gonna say HICID on it. It's not gonna come up with our name on the website.
Yeah, I think it should, because it's holidayisland.us, it could pertain to both of us in terms of its URL.
It could, but when you do a search, it says Suburban Improvement District.
That can be
That's the
changed,
title they changed, right? That's what I'm saying, it would change their title.
but I think it's the URL that affects the search engine, but I'll clarify that. But
Well-
she told me, Allison did, if she changed the website, that it would come up, but I think you got a good point there to look into.
Okay. That's the first thing that in the structure of the FML or the, whatever the language is, it tells you what is the name that's displayed. It's a feature, it's called the title.
So I'll see if that affects the search engine or whether it's the URL.
Using, both the city and the district using the same URL for the website, and then having a home page on that website that had decision trees so that people could go to the right location after that. Now, that was the only reason why I wanted to share the URL with the district. If that can be done, like, let's say that the district has their own City of Holiday Island.us, and it's way down the list on the Google search, won't hurt us as long as the home page on the HICID website, the .us one, gives them that direction.
Yeah,
Let's say they go to that one first. As long as that home page says, if you're looking for these kinds of, if your interest is over here, then click on this
well,
link.
and a lot of the cost that she quoted on for the $5,700 was to rewrite their website, the underlying change out the software base from CMS or to WordPress, because whatever the underlying software she used to build that 7 to 8 years ago, they aren't keeping up to date with the current software, with the releases of security and things like that in their software, and putting out new releases of the software when security things change or when there are improvements or fixes needed. And she's worried that in the long run, you really need to change the underlying platform of that. And she could both do that and tie us in with $5,700. She's got to rewrite it in WordPress, which apparently it wasn't as popular back when she built the website, but it is now the most popular tool out there that people are using. And she feels they are really up to date with their security. So.
But if they do, if she could do what Dan just proposed of putting the box on the front of the HICID that says, if you're, if you need the town of Holiday Island, click here to.
But she would charge us $2,700 to build our own website with WordPress.
Okay, but, it'd probably be minimal for them to do that on the HICID page, and that's gonna be half the cost of if we share theirs.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is we wouldn't need our own page if we've got embedded in one Holiday Island.
Well, we're gonna need it for the, email to start with,
But
but.
we need a domain.
Yeah, so, we could, and you said we could put that in there and we can post our documents there for a while, so I think that's what we ought to do.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
This doesn't work, can I borrow your mic?
Yeah, please speak into that.
Okay, so first I want to share with you my favorite 4-word phrase going forward. Talk to the mayor. But, you know me, I don't like being non-committal, but in this particular case, I have to be a little bit non-committal in the details of everything that falls out, especially with the website. I think we all agree that we do have to maintain we have to maintain an independent structure so we're easily identifiable as two separate entities and not create any kind of confusion. But the part that I will commit to is I know that as we grow together in this cooperative relationship, the financial benefits to the district and the city are profound. And there's so many unknowns right now that if we just move forward with an eye on looking for every economy of scale, every way to reduce administrative costs for both entities, I think those things are the things that we have to look at. But right now, to be able to sit you guys on a course saying we'll go which way or another way with the website.
Well, and you answer to the board.
Exactly,
The board
that's
will
the
make
best
that
way to
decision.
put it, I answer to the board, but the board is committed to the cooperative relationship. You have my personal commitment to a cooperative relationship, and I understand that every dollar that we save on administrative costs, like Mayor Key said, is one more dollar that we can put towards paving roads. And I think that's where we need to keep the eye on the ball.
And we don't need to make the decision on the joint website immediately.
Exactly. We can, because there's so many different ways to do this that I just didn't want to leave you without a commitment, but unfortunately right now I can't give that commitment. So, that's all I want to say.
Okay,
Okay,
so are we ready to wrap up then?
I think so.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, so we can adjourn the workshop, and we're looking for a couple of resolutions at the, next, meeting of the town council. I'm gonna stop sharing.
I'll second Jerry's motion to adjourn.
Do we have to adjourn a workshop? Or do I
We
just?
called it to order.
No. Oh, I guess, okay. All in favor of adjourning the workshop?
Aye.
All right, adjourn.
Oh, and unfortunately, I did some more research on I was talking to some people about the community development grant, and as far as buying, office equipment and those kind of things. Unfortunately, that